There are many, many updates in the curious case of Devin Hogan Flanagan, the Democrat-appointed Assistant Attorney General in Rhode Island who was arrested by Newport police. Now, perhaps the most interesting update here is a statement from her boss, the actual Attorney General, Peter Neronha, who gave an update as to her employment status. But before we get to that, the full body cam footage from the police has been released online. This gives us insight into the buildup of what we saw yesterday. Take a look.
I want you to turn your body cam off. Protocol is that you turn it off. If a citizen requests it to turn it off, she's a lawyer.
So they want you guys to leave?
Yes, we're gonna leave.
Let's just leave. Let's just make it easy, okay?
We're gonna make it easy.
No, that's not.
I am. Okay. I'm her
That's
husband.
not the point. Can you look at me?
Yeah, we'll talk over here, okay?
Your protocol is.
Can we all talk? Can we all talk?
We'll talk over here. They want you to leave.
Your protocol is.
Can we talk?
Who is she to you?
What's that?
No,
Who is she to
nothing.
you?
Nothing.
She is our college friend.
Okay. She's a friend.
Yes.
No, I'm not.
You guys just want him out? Do you want him trespassed?
Anything we can do.
Yeah.
Trespass, yeah. I just need
Trespass, get him
yeah,
out.
cuff him, please. It's the only way we're
Okay.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Do we want to chat?
I know that your
All right.
protocol is.
So you're trespassed, so we gotta leave now. Unless you want to be in
We're not
handcuffs.
trespassing. You haven't notified us that we're trespassing.
So,
Number one.
what did I
Number
just say
two.
to you? You're
You're
trespassed. Let's go.
Number one.
I don't
Number
want to
two.
arrest you guys.
You're not going to arrest us. Number two
So let's
is
leave.
that
We gotta go. We gotta go.
protocol
Let's
is
go. Let's
that
go.
the
calm down for
citizen
1
protocol
second?
is if we
Yeah.
ask you to
I
turn
don't
the
want.
body
I don't
cam
want to
off.
deal with this. Let's
Okay.
go.
No,
Let's
no.
go.
I understand you don't want to deal with it, but the
let's go.
protocol
Wait,
is,
wait,
and your
can you-
protocol
can
is
you
if I
relax?
ask you to turn off the body cam, you have to turn it off, and
turn
that's
the
your
body-
protocol.
She's a lawyer, so she knows.
And that right there is what we saw yesterday. If you missed yesterday's video, I encourage you to check it out. It includes just various angles of both Flanagan as well as her friend being arrested and being thrown into cop cars. Just absolutely insane. The restaurant here is Clark Cookhouse, and apparently Flanagan and her party were unwilling to leave. They had been asked multiple times by the bouncers to leave. They didn't, and that's why the restaurant called the police to try to get them off of the property. Well, according to locals and many people who I've been in touch with, Clark Cookhouse is a very well-known restaurant. It is a great restaurant in the Newport area, and it's like the staff is very friendly, very polite. You even saw the host when the cops went up. Hey, what do you want? Like, they weren't screaming at the cops. They didn't even. They maintained decorum, right? And it's just a very classy restaurant. And so the number one sentiment I've gotten from people that I've tried to connect with over this incident is, you must have been behaving really badly to be kicked out of Clark Cookhouse. Well, all of this leads us to Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Neronha, who was asked about Flanagan's arrest and what he made of the situation.
What's your reaction to Devin? You going to keep her or are you going to give her the boot?
Well, look, still reviewing and thinking about what I'm going to do. Look, it's not my first rodeo. I'd been sworn in as U.S. Attorney for about a month, and I got a phone call that one of my assistants had been locked up by Warwick overnight for drunk driving, had been in a crash, had told everybody in sight that he knew the police chief. It was all over the Providence Journal for 5 days. We ended up keeping him, suspended him for a long time. And, I don't know. I mean, one of the challenges is when you have an employee who really has an unblemished record and the court thinks very highly of, the bar thinks very highly of, I mean, they don't grow on trees. I have a hard time finding and keeping experienced prosecutors. Look, she's put me in a bad position. She's embarrassed herself, humiliated herself, treated the Newport Police Department horribly. She is going to take some steps to try to address that in the next day or so. I just don't know what I'm going to do yet, Gene, and I have to give it some more thought. But inexcusable behavior.
Now, I don't know about you, but to me it sounds like he's hedging his bets. It sounds like at some level he knows what he's going to do, and I would bet money that he's not going to fire Flanagan. It sounds like he's made up his mind as far as that is concerned. Maybe he's hemming and hawing because he's still not quite sure as to the exact disciplinary measures, but that was the sense I was getting when I was listening. Let me know if you agree or disagree, but when he started making excuses about how difficult it is to find find good lawyers and good prosecutors. I mean, I've said on this channel many times before, I have connections to the DOJ. I come from a family of lawyers, many of them working for prestigious law firms just all over the world. And so one of the things I know about law, at least from the outside looking in, is that it is a very competitive field. And it can only be competitive if there is a limited number of good jobs and a huge pool of qualified lawyers. So I just don't necessarily buy this narrative. And in fact, in the next segment, Neronha himself talks about his team, his staff is composed of over 110 lawyers. You're telling me that not one of those 110 lawyers could take over her job, could do what she's doing right now? Again, I just find that hard to believe. And that drunk driving incident he mentioned earlier, apparently he fired that guy and then rehired him a year later.
She knows better. The office knows better. I've got 110 lawyers. She embarrassed all of them in a sense. I haven't had many issues like this while I've been Attorney General. I've had a few, I let one guy go for driving drunk. I had to bring him back. I didn't have to, but did bring him back after I fired him about a year later because, again, I needed somebody to go in a courtroom and try, ugly, hard murder cases. Just really hard to find and keep capable lawyers. And so I just have to think really carefully about this one. But no question, there'll be a strong, strong sanction here.
Strong sanctions. Like I said earlier, it does appear as if he's already made up his mind as to whether or not he's going to fire her. It sounds like he definitely wants to keep her on his team, and that right now all he's weighing is what exactly this punishment, what exactly these sanctions will look like. Now, even though I'm highly critical of Neronha right now, I do have to give him credit. He did respond to the Newport police appropriately. They actually gave his office a courtesy call, and he said, hey, treat Flanagan the way you would treat anyone else. It sounded like they were almost asking him, how do you want us to approach this? So, hey, I'm going to give him credit where credit is due. AGs, assistant AGs, no one in power is above the law. How many times have the Democrats told us that? There should be no difference as far as how the law is applied to regular citizens versus people in public service. Take a look.
Are you familiar with the circumstances leading up to it? What happened inside and then happened outside? What was the whole thing about?
I think it's alcohol related. And,
you don't say.
She wasn't driving, but that doesn't mean you drink alcohol to such a point where you lose, your ability to exercise good judgment. So, like many things, people don't make good decisions about how much to drink, and then, of course, that impairs their judgment afterwards. Look, we drill it into our prosecutors. For years, we've had these rules of the road that I remember when I was from whence they came, I don't really know, but they all go back to professionalism. It's one of the things I drilled into them when I took office, now 7 years ago, which is what I expected them to be, was professional. And that's outside and inside the office. And she put the Newport police officers in a terrible position. And I give them credit for treating her like everybody else. And certainly we knew she was in custody. And we didn't have to be asked, but when we were given a courtesy notification, our response was, you treat her like everybody else. And that's how she's going to be treated. I mean, she's going to have to answer the charge and deal with it. And then we'll deal with it as a personnel matter. And she'll have to rebuild her reputation, whether it's inside the office or not. I mean, she's a member of the bar, and she's just going to have to, look, she's been appearing in front of the renowned Supreme Court now for a couple of years. Whether she's working for me or working on her own, I mean, to walk back into that courtroom and represent either a client or the people of the state in front of 5 Supreme Court justices, having had this just happen.
5 Supreme Court justices. He's referring, of course, to the Rhode Island Supreme Court. And I do think that it's going to be very difficult for her to be taken seriously before the Supreme Court. And heck, if there's a case that involves trespassing, if there's a case that involves the Newport police, it's going to be a conflict of interest for Flanagan, I believe. Rhode Island, it's not as if Rhode Island is a massive state like Texas or Florida or California. Rhode Island is a tiny, tiny state. So there's only so many jurisdictions sanctions, so many different cases that you can represent or that you can prosecute before the Supreme Court. So it'll be interesting if he indeed decides to keep her on. Like, is her role going to be limited? Is he essentially bending backwards to keep her on his team? So one of the things we saw in yesterday's footage was Flanagan ordering the cops to turn off their body cams. Well, there is a huge update there. But before we get to it, I would like to acknowledge Prisen Kolnan Sinane Kuso, Stacey L., Robert Stevens, and Dean Diefendorf as the members of today's Governor's Club. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I am so glad that you're here, that you enjoy, and I thank you for the support. Well, she basically, Flanagan, was saying, it is the state law. I know my rights. If I tell you to turn off your body cams, you have to turn it off. Well, the radio host actually asked the state attorney general, hey, is this true? Is this in the law books? Was Flanagan right about that? Or was she wrong? Well, I think the answer will be interesting to you.
When she saw the cops had the body cameras roll, she said it's protocol. If I request you to turn it off, you have to. That's not correct, is it, Attorney General?
No.
What is the protocol?
No, it isn't.
No.
No, the protocol, which is public, it's on our website, is the police officers can, in their judgment, not the request of a third party, a member of the public, can turn it off. But that's generally reserved for situations like where you have a victim to a crime or a witness to a crime, and there may be some concerns on their part about retaliation or safety. But look, it's my office that drove that body cam program in the first place. So I'm really glad that they're on every police officer in the state. If you remember, Gene, we championed that program, found the funding for it, the seed funding from the federal government. The state ended up matching some of that funding. We got them on every police department in the state. There was one holdout. I think even Smithfield came around, and so I'm glad they're on every police officer. Look, it keeps police officers safe, number one. And number two, it makes sure that we don't get into these he said, she said situations where you don't have a clear record of what happened. It's, it's very clear what happened here, and that's good for the Newport police officers, and frankly, it's good for delivering an appropriate sanction to Ms. Flanagan. So I'm glad they're on every police officer in the state, including Newport.
Either way you spin it, it is just not a good look for Flanagan. Either, I mean, you can't have it both ways, right? Either she was unfamiliar with the law, and that's why she was just saying something that was flat out wrong and threatening these cops to turn off their body cam footage, or she knew that the law said the exact opposite and she was openly lying about it, maybe to CYA. Maybe she didn't want to get in trouble. Maybe even though she was intoxicated, she at least had enough mind to know that this footage would make her look bad, could potentially ruin or negatively affect her career. Which is it? You weren't aware of the law as a lawyer, as an assistant attorney general, or you were aware of the law and you were lying? I just don't see how either of those two situations can coexist, or whether or not there even is a third possibility. But as always, all of that is just my analysis and commentary. That is what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So, what do you think of Attorney General Peter Neronha's statements? Do you agree? Do you like how he's handling this? Would you handle it any differently? From my point of view, it sounds like he's made up his mind. It really sounds like he is not going to fire Flanagan, even though he's hemming and hawing, even though he's saying, oh, I have to weigh my decision and think about it over the next few days. It sounds like he wants to keep her on his team, but instead is just weighing what these sanctions, what punishment, what disciplinary action for Flanagan is going to look like. Now, I don't like cancel culture. I think cancel culture is toxic, but cancel culture typically has to do with celebrities, sports figures, private businesses. If Flanagan was employed by a large private law firm, I wouldn't care as much, right? If that's how this law firm wants to conduct business, okay, more power to you. However, as a civil servant, when you're being paid by taxpayer dollars, I do believe you should be held to a higher standard. I'm not saying that she should be canceled and should never hold a job in law again. I'm not saying or promoting that by any means. I'm just saying that, hey, if your salary is being funded by taxpayers, if you are representing the people of your state, I do believe that that demands, requires a higher standard, and we should want that as a citizenry. And quite frankly, I would expect the state attorney general to want that as well. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being too strict on Flanagan, but I'd love to know your thoughts on all of that down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. It is a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.